Hey guys, so I am I'm playing on my main account. Um, this is going to be a Malfurion guide. I took a couple days a while back, about a week ago, and went from fully decayed all the way back up to Masters again. And then I just was playing a few games today, decided I wanted to do a Malfurion guide for Tranquility. If you guys don't know what the Tranquility build, sorry, not Tranquility, Rejuvenation. If you guys don't know what the Rejuvenation build is, it all revolves around this one talent that has been changed. So what this talent did in the past was that it made it to where you would give yourself a healing over time that would be as strong as the amount of regrowths you had on other people. Well, this talent was okay, because if you put a regrowth on yourself, plus that healing over time, you were really hard to kill. But it wasn't that great. Now they've changed it to where casting a regrowth on an ally also gives you regrowth for half its duration. And so what that ends up doing is that makes it to where you can now have one extra regrowth going than you normally could. So where you normally could have 3 regrowths going until you had Nature's Balance and you could have 4 regrowths going, now you can have 3 or 4 regrowths going until you get Nature's Balance, where you can have 5 regrowths going. And that's the big difference between that. But that synergizes really well with a lot of the talents that Malfurion has. And that's what we're going to be going over. So to start off, I want to explain a little bit of the playstyle that you're going to be looking for in the early, mid, and late game. Number 1, your Q and your W should become muscle memory. When you're helping your team with camps, you can always auto-attack in W, but your Q and your W should be muscle memory. You shouldn't have to think about it. Your subconscious should be doing that on its own. You should play Malfurion enough to where that is something that just naturally happens, that you just are constantly throwing out Qs, you're constantly landing your Ws, and you don't really need to worry about it. So you're going to almost always see 3 to 5 regrowths going at all times, and you're going to see me landing probably about 60 to 70% of my Ws. Now, after you've focused on that, you're going to need to look at this and go, well, what else does Malfurion bring to the table? Because as of right now, Paradox, it's looking like you're just a Lucio. Well, what Malfurion brings to the table is a root as early as level 1. And this is a really powerful root. It's a really, really powerful root. Because it is not just a Zul root that roots someone in place after a delay. This is an instant root that you can place down to zone off a location, or an instant root that you can place to follow up another CC from your team. And it is one of the better roots in the game because you get it super early into the game, and it has a ton of utility. Not just that, but at level 4, you can reduce the healing by 40%. I think this is one of the best talents right now because it's going to allow you to lead to more kills. And that's another thing too, with Malfurion, you can roam from lane to lane to lane, but whenever you see that healing prevented, imagine that as extra damage. So there are points during this where I'm going to be dropping down that, and we're going to be getting these huge amounts that neither of these talents could have been capable of. Now, I like Deep Roots too. Deep Roots is a pretty good talent as well, but it just depends on the map. Do you want your root to be stronger? More likely to lead to a kill, or do you want your root to be more likely to zone? Because this doesn't actually increase the duration of the root itself, it only increases the duration of the entangling root's ability on the ground. So, with that being said, your playstyle in the early portion of the game should be tossing heals on everyone, then roaming from lane to lane, and giving the heals to multiple people. You go down to bot, you heal your bot, you go up to mid, and when you're landing W's mid, you're also healing bot, and you can also heal mid. So you can heal pretty much half of the map at any given point, which is why Malfurion is normally really good for spread out fights, but he's also going to be really good for other situations as well. Level 7, Nature's Cure is kind of my go-to. I look at the enemy team and I go, is there anything that I can remove? And I've mentioned this about cleanses before, that a lot of people are bad with cleanse because they wait until after something happens and they go, oh, I should have cleansed this. And I'm going to continue that, but I want to talk about this particular fight right here. Actually, I'm just going to pause. So the way you make cleanse easier on every hero is you look at the enemy team and you go, what can I cleanse? And what's realistic to cleanse, right? Because you never want to cleanse anything that's unrealistic, like something that you're naturally going to get stunned by too, or something that is going to repeat afterwards, or whatever, or something that's just unpredictable. You won't often be near them to cleanse it. So you look at the enemy team and you go, what are these things? And those are the only two things that you're thinking about when you are going through. And your goal with cleanses, let's say you're playing Rhaegar, you throw out a Q, you throw out a W, and now the rest of the fight is just watching and waiting for that one thing that you were preparing for when you pick this talent. And so what I look on the enemy team is I go, okay, well, Jaina, if she takes Ring of Frost, I can remove all of the Ring of Frost. Muradin, if he throws a Q, I can remove the Q from whoever he stuns. The rest of their team, though, I'm not going to be able to remove anything. His slow is reapplied. Her sleep, while it is considered a stun, that's not really what I'm going to pay that much attention to, because most likely they're going to wake up from the damage over time from one of these two things. So all I'm looking for is two abilities in this game, and it's a lot easier to cleanse something when you only have to pay attention to like two things. So this is something that you should be doing whenever you pick any cleanses. Now, with that in mind, this is kind of the fights that I like on Malfurion. And these fights are fights that get a little spread out, but fights that get a little chaotic. Because he is a healing over time hero, not like a burst healing hero, you want fights where the enemies aren't focusing on any individual person, and where they tend to pick different targets. And remember, guys, this is a Masters and Grandmasters game, so this happens in these games too. But Malfurion's even being picked up a lot in scrims at the moment, so even if people are really good at focusing, sometimes it's still okay to run a hero like this. So these fights right here, you put your Q on a bunch of different people. You have Mephisto held that point for long enough for Joanna to be able to get on the point. Now you're just healing off of landing your Ws and continuing to have your Qs going. He gets out of position, he goes and jumps over the wall, and now their team is there. Great sleep from the Ana, and now we push on through. So now I've got this time to talk a little bit about what level 10s I take. And this really depends on a lot of factors, but I kind of stole this playstyle from Europe right after Ice Block was removed. A lot of North America just stopped playing Malfurion after Ice Block was removed, or they just went Twilight Dream and just tended to struggle with them. Europe, on the other hand, started playing more Malfurion after Ice Block was removed, and they took this time to pick a different level 13 talent, which was the new Nature Swiftness, and they took this time to practice with Tranquility, and out of nowhere, they turned into these healers that healed way more than old Malfurion ever healed, and still had a lot of the same benefits of having that root, instead of like just bringing a Lucio who doesn't have that root. And it was a really cool change. So I practiced this change. I then got to sub in for a team with the Regen Invitational. Our team ended up winning the entire Regen Invitational. And this was the first one, I believe. Might have been the second one. And I was using Tranquility during that tournament. So that's something that you guys can also learn from, is that this was right after Ice Block was removed, and I took this European playstyle of taking Tranquility and I pushed with it. So with that being said, that's the reason why I take Tranquility. There are times that I take Twilight Dream, two particular times where I will almost always take it. One, against Mosh Pit, and two, I will take it against Double Healer. Because one, you can't really out heal Double Healer for very long, and Twilight Dream gives you the opportunity to turn off their healing for 3 seconds and actually have a chance to take that fight. So I'll sometimes take it for Double Healer, and I'll almost always take it against Mosh Pit. And then level 13, Nature Swiftness. I mean, you get 5 of those, you can go Mount Speed. And you go 4 of them, you can pretty much land whatever route you want to. It's amazing utility. So right here, if you're wondering why I'm playing so aggressive against this Muradin, is because I see that bottom lane is going to be picked up by the enemy team, and I wanted to make sure that I could see this area in the case that someone was just sitting in this bush ready to immediately sneak it. Then I was able to keep it under control for long enough to where I was able to keep my team alive. I pop my ult right before I get stunned in case I take a lot of damage while I'm down, and I keep everyone on my team topped off. I watched to be ready to cleanse if I needed to cleanse for that Ring of Frost, and now it's just a matter of setting a route in the direction that the enemies are going and finishing them off. Lowering a bunch of healing. Remember, we are counting the Healing mitigated as extra damage. In that case, it was only 9 extra damage, but it's just that you will still want to think about. Toss a root out in the only direction that he can run away from, and take out another kill. So the roots have led to pretty much all the kills that we've gotten so far. The first kill mid was when I flanked Jaina around level 7. The next 2 kills were just there, and then this last kill as well. All 4 of our kills have been from roots. Most likely we would have been able to kill that last Asmodan without a root, though, to be completely honest. But it did certainly help out. So the more we can land these roots and the more impactful we can make these roots, the better. Which is why a lot of my build is about keeping my team alive and just landing these perfect roots and giving myself more opportunities to land these perfect roots. Level 7, if I don't go Nature's Cure, let's say I'm just not seeing that it's going to be an option to remove any of these things, any of the CC, I will actually go Tenacious Roots because it increases your root duration, meaning the actual root of it, not just the entangling root sits on the floor for longer. This will increase it by 0.26, no, 0.25, yeah, 0.25. A little bit more than 0.25. It's actually 0.256 is what it is. By taking this talent. So your root will go from being a 1.25 second root to a 1.56 second root. And so again, root led to another 2 kills, but not the third one in that case. But yeah, so that's why it's good to take the Tenacious Roots, and I don't take Wild Growth anymore because Rejuvenation is going to make it easier for me to keep more of those out, so I don't need the increased duration because I never need to cast it on myself to keep 4 out. Then at level 16, it's very easy to keep 5 of them out. So I don't need this talent anymore. And so if I don't take Nature's Cure, I take Tenacious Roots, and I just have a longer duration root. The second part of it is when you're stunned, the cooldown is reset. This can only occur every 10 seconds. That is just gravy. I don't even pay attention to that. I like the extra root duration, and hey, if I get stunned and I get a double root on someone, then why not? Like, if I root someone, then I get stunned by Muradin, and then I just wake up and root them again, it's like, yeah, sure, why not? But I take it for the increased root duration. And that is essentially the build. That is the build that I go. The rest of this video is going to be primarily about playstyle. I'm going to explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and go from there. So I make sure at the start of every fight to throw Qs on everyone. If I see one of them turns red, also I immediately cleanse off any Ring of Frosts. I'm landing Ws, trying to hit 2 targets if I can, but at the very least I want to make sure that I'm landing my W every single time that it's available. Whenever I see one go red, I immediately throw out another Q so that that one is done. We continue having our Qs going at all times, and I like to go from lane to lane. So I like to go and heal like middle, and then go up to top, heal top, go down to bot, heal bot. I always use my roots to cut off locations where they need to get away from. And again, another kill is led by root. That's almost 7, possibly 8 kills this game that have been because of a root. If I wouldn't have placed down that root, he would have just stunned him and walked away, and that's all that it would have been. And so this is why it's so important to run Malfurion instead of just running like a Lucio. Now, he is more difficult than Lucio. So, that E-build Lucio, or just the basic Lucio build that I gave in that, like, carrying from Bronze to Masters series is still so much easier to play. But I mean, look at these kills. Another kill led by the root. Wasn't going to be available unless I got that root. So we're at almost 9 out of 11 kills that are because of the root. This one he would have died without the root. I popped my ult to give myself 10 armor and to make it to where I survived the burst of Haymaker and Stun. Now I out heal all the damage that he's trying to do, and we just slowly whittle him down. So getting your Q and your W to be muscle memory is extremely important because you have to be doing these every second. So if you don't have this by muscle memory, you're going to be so focused on getting good Q and Ws off that the rest of your abilities are kind of pointless. Then you're going to be forgetting to innervate a lot. You're going to be forgetting to pop your ult at the right times. You're not going to be looking for the perfect root opportunities, which are leading to the majority of kills we have this game. And you just won't get the other opportunities that you will have. You also won't know when to do a good cleanse either. So you should always be looking for these cleanse opportunities, because I can't tell you how many times I cleanse my entire team out of Ring of Frost or out of Hanzo arrows or whatever. particularly in this game, Ring of Frost. And so we go with that. I'm positioned pretty well here, but I have to admit, Lincoln just absolutely destroyed me. So Lincoln's the Murden player. He's hit Grandmasters a bunch, so it's just kind of one of those things you have to deal with. The rest of their team is all within Masters, or they're I think they have like 2 Diamond players. Our team is mostly Diamonds, but they've all peaked into Masters here or there this season. Or poked into Masters, I would say. They could have gone higher. I didn't really pay that much attention. Yeah, so now you see this talent. Level 20, I'll talk about it before we hit 20. I take Serenity because 50% increased healing on Tranquility is huge. So currently, we heal for 169 health per second, so you increase that by 50% on top of all your other healing. So right here is another good example. We hit him with the root, which then allows us to stop his jump, and we lead to a kill. I didn't see how much I prevented there, but I'm pretty sure I prevented a decent amount because Murden has that angry build, so he's able to heal off of being around people. And so again, we've led to almost 13 out of the 17 kills on our roots. And it's crazy because we're also doing a ridiculous amount of healing. If you are curious to see how much healing we're doing, we are doubling the opposing Ana's healing. And remember, this is a master player that we're doubling his healing. So that speaks volumes at the amount of healing that you can do in this build. It really, really does. And so as it stands at the moment, we're just going to do what we can to try to keep everyone topped off. We want to make sure Qs are available on everyone. And the only way that we really lose here is by getting comboed by an entire team. So what our goal here is to watch our team and make sure that we don't get hit by Ring of Frost. If we get hit by Ring of Frost, we want to cleanse it immediately so we don't get comboed by Icy Veins and just get absolutely destroyed. So we want to keep Qs on everyone. We want to still land Ws where we can. We want to look a little bit for E's to get some roots off. And finally, we want to make sure that we don't die to Ring of Frost. We pop ult, we immediately remove the Ring of Frost, and we keep our entire team alive with the amount of healing that we are doing with our other things. We never need to throw a Q on ourselves. Even if we lose it, we just throw a Q on one of our allies and we are back on track. One more time, and I tried to use an E in the direction that I thought he was going to jump to get away, and he does not jump that way, so we take this opportunity to stagger his death and finish off this game. Whenever you are helping with camps or any siege, you can still use your W and auto attacks to clean it up. As far as the stats went, I more than doubled the Ana's healing, and if we looked at the damage dealers of the enemy team, which was the Greymane and the Jaina, we healed more than both of their damage combined. Which means that during team fights, they could not kill anyone because we were healing so much. Murden was also doing a lot of damage, and then Asmodan was their solo laner. A lot of his damage was too far from us because it was Thrall fighting him, so a lot of that damage went on Thrall. Thrall self-healed it, making this game turn into almost a free game. Now, just because we healed a lot probably would have led us to win more than we lose, but the roots is what really allowed us to feel like we were smurfing this game, despite the fact that this is on my main account in Masters right now, and I just still was pretty much rolling through them at this point, and I solo queued into this game. I believe the team that I was with was a 4-man, but again, it was just a solo queue. I hopped in. As far as targets to innervate, I usually try to innervate targets that are that need the cooldown reduction first rather than the mana. So, for example, Mephisto. If he uses all of his abilities, and if he even misses a few too many strikes, he has to wait like 6 seconds to get his abilities back. But if he lands all of his abilities, he has like endless cooldowns. So if you ever see Mephisto where like he misses a few too many times, toss an Innervate over at him, boom, he's gonna have his abilities back, and then maybe next time he'll go infinite with it and just throw until everything dies. That's my first priority, is Innervate for the cooldown reduction, because it's a 50% increase in cooldown recharge. That's not bad. That essentially cuts a cooldown by 25%, because it works a little weird. Because 100% faster cooldowns would cut it in half, so 50% only cuts it down by a fourth, if that makes sense. Then it only gives them 20% of their mana back, which is like the secondary thing that I look for. Low mana, in case that we are expecting the fight to go long, then you just try to refill the mana of those who are going a little long with it. But yeah, the big tip I can give with Malfurion, make your Q and your W muscle memory, meaning that you have to play him 10 games in a row to get it to where Q and W is muscle memory. Once Q and W is muscle memory, then you can pay attention to all these other different things you need to pay attention to, like innervating the targets that need cooldown reduction or mana, popping your ult to gain armor so that you can survive burst and so your team can survive CC and then out heal the amount of damage that's going on, looking for entangling roots that are going to lead to kills, and finally knowing what on the enemy team is easy to use Nature's Cure on to prevent your team from ever getting comboed. I can tell you right now that a Ring of Frost never lasted long enough to where my team took a single blizzard after Ring of Frost landed. So that is huge because it prevents the damage that Jaina does, and Jaina is their biggest burst hero. Greymane probably second, and so if I can prevent the burst from Jaina, and then I only need to watch for when Greymane dives in to give my team extra armor, then that's all that's required. And that is the Rejuvenation Malfurion build and playstyle explained and shown here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out my other videos. Something about coaching. If you guys don't know, I do coaching. I'm sure it's in there somewhere in the description. And also check out the Discord. There's a bunch of people willing to answer questions if you're trying to learn new heroes or learn the game. So check all the stuff in the description. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.